Hello and welcome to another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside former Padres center fielder Mike Cameron, here to break down all things San Diego Padres, MLB, and more. Mike, March is upon us. We're a little over 2 weeks away from the Cubs and Dodgers opening the 2025 season in Tokyo, and the Padres and everyone else opening their season. We're just a little over 3 weeks away from that. The Padres opening up against the Braves here at the end of the month. The season's upon us. We've reached March. It's officially the same month as opening day. I know it's seemed like a long off season. At the same time, it's kind of hard to believe the season's almost here.
Yeah, definitely, Cal. When the teams start their seasons in Japan so early, and when they start and then they got to start over, that makes for kind of a crazy couple of weeks. But at the same time, hopefully with the season starting a little bit earlier, potentially with some of these guys that um, are starting in March, we don't have to at least we don't have to go into deep into November when the season's over with, as this thing progresses. But it will be interesting to see. I mean, it's always there's excitement, especially with some teams that are on the cusp of putting themselves in a very good position to compete for a championship. And obviously, uh, the San Diego Padres have that type of caliber of talent on their team for that to take place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone is looking forward to the season starting. I think especially from a Padres perspective, just given some of the news this offseason hasn't been the most positive. I know actual games being played in spring training provide a little bit of a respite from the offseason of bad news. And certainly once the regular season starts, that will ring even more true. Mike, the Padres had split squad action today out in Arizona in the
Mhm.
Cactus League. They lost to the Cubs 16-1 out in Sloan Park in Mesa. They tied the Giants 1-1 out in Peoria at the Peoria Sports Complex. And again, spring training results aren't really what you look at. What stood out to me was we saw two starting pitchers, one of whom will be in the Padres rotation, one of whom the Padres are hoping can help them out a little bit. Nick Pivetta made his Padres debut, was very, very sharp. Scoreless outing, struck out four, fastball looked great, curveball looked great against the Giants. Really strong first eye for Nick Pivetta. And Ryan Bergert, who has been a solid pitcher for the Padres in camp, came on in relief in the game against the Cubs in relief of Matt Waldron. Both Waldron and Bergert, I thought, showed good stuff. They were let down by their defense. It was a really, really poor day defensively for the Padres, but that's what spring training is all about. And with that, I want to hit on the Padres pitching depth and really dive into it. We see, depending on the year, teams need an average of right now, teams are averaging between 10 and 12 different starting pitchers per year. That's not counting openers. That's not counting bullpen days. It's not counting relievers getting a start. That is actual legitimate starting pitchers coming up and making at least one start for the team. We know the Padres rotation is strong, the top three. You have Darvish, you have Dylan Cease, you have Michael King. They signed Nick Pivetta. Matt Waldron, the knuckleballer, was pretty good for half a season last year. When you look at this staff, what are the things that jump out to you, both on the front end and then maybe some of what lies beneath?
Talent. I mean, they're talented. Obviously, another thing to continue to ask questions about is health. And then you have some veteran guys along with some younger guys, and so it could be very interesting to see how the Padres pitching staff shapes up. I mean, you got two guys that potentially could win Cy Youngs in there right out of the jump. With that being, I would say, everybody thinks I'm gonna say you Darvish, but you got King, and you also have uh, I call him Popeye, man, the Hammer Man. Like, geez, Dylan Cease. Goodness, I don't know how long he's gonna be here, but that guy's got death-defying stuff, and that's a good thing to have. I mean, Padres are in a good shape. They also have some youth and some of the guys that are continuing to get better. And they also signed Pavetta, who has tons of experience coming over from Boston and really being at the top of Boston's, you know, 3, 4, I guess the 2, 3, 4, whatever over there with them. So, he brings tons of experience there, and he'll if he doesn't like pitching in San Diego, I don't know where else he can pitch at because it's like a great pitcher's park, especially when that dude kicks in over the stadium, that marine layer, So it should be a fun case for him. Most of these guys, their biggest thing is just them staying healthy and getting the opportunity to go out and try to get the job done, give their team an opportunity to win ball games.
Yeah, no question. And again, I think if you map this out, like I said, you Darvish, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Nick Pivetta as your top four. You feel pretty good about that. Then you have Matt
Yeah,
Waldron, Kyle Hart, Randy Vasquez. Those three guys are really realistically, all of them are going to get starts this year. So you have seven guys
yeah,
that you feel like, okay, you know, you feel pretty good that they're going to go out. Again, the top four consistently are going to be good. The back three, they'll be able to mix in some quality starts. Are all three of them going to go out and dominate? No, but you can piece it together and reasonably expect solid outings from them, especially when holes need to be plugged. But that gets you to seven. And realistically, as we've talked about, just the way the game is with how often pitchers are getting injured. And also, look, Yu Darvish is getting up there in age. He had an injury last year. It's the facts of the game right now. Starting pitchers are going to get hurt. You need to make sure and
yeah,
have some depth. The Padres had 8 different starters last year. The Dodgers had 12, not including a lot of openers and whatnot. The Giants had 10. The Rockies had 11 just in the West. I mean, you really do need to get into that 10, 11 range to feel good. So now it's about finding 3 other guys that the Padres can call upon to plug holes, because there's going to come a point, whether it's, hey, we need to start here, or maybe it is, we need you to come in and, step up as a swingman for, a week or two. Maybe it's come up, start one day, come out of the bullpen a few days later. They're going to need more arms, and the depth of arms is just so critical in today's game. So I want to dive in with you a little bit on the Padres pitching depth, and particularly a few good young arms that we've seen so far in spring training. I want to start with Braden Nett. You saw him. He made the start against the Mariners last Friday. Really good stuff. His thing has always been just control. And we'll get into his story a little bit. It's a really kind of fascinating scouting story. But, seeing his stuff up close, it's one thing to see it on television. It's another to see it from afar from the press box, but you're on the field watching it get on hitters. What were your
yeah.
impressions of Braden Nett and his outing against you guys last week with the Mariners?
One of the biggest things for me is like I just watch how guys get around in their start. These guys are actually competing. So while you're competing, you're trying to put yourself in a position for the team to see that you're capable of contributing. And the number one thing is like, can guy get his off speed stuff over considerably enough to help himself navigate 1, 2, 3 innings or whatever he's trying to do. But, and also him downloading information in his own mind to see what he can handle and how guys can handle themselves against him at the plate. So it's just a mutual respect thing. And with what he's doing now is giving him tons of confidence to give him opportunity to compete for maybe a spot, maybe like a little bit later on, down the line if he doesn't get on right out the jump. And then it's just a matter of how the Padres are making their roster with the pitching staff and how they choose to go about doing that.
Yeah, again, that's a really fascinating scouting story. Went to St. Charles Junior College in Missouri, but didn't actually pitch in college. Showed up in the draft league. Didn't pitch particularly well results wise, but showed some raw stuff. Padres drafted him as $10,000. He wasn't. He was undrafted. So the Padres gave him 10 grand as an undrafted free
Mm,
agent. And right out the jump, he's looked like a scouting steal. I mean, you see a fastball that sits 4 to 6, tops out at
yeah,
99 with some ride. We saw him land some really good power breaking balls against the Mariners in his most recent start. The stuff is definitely there. The biggest thing with him is just control. We saw in his first outing this spring against the Dodgers, he hit 2 batters, walked another. Against the Mariners, it was a clean first inning. Second inning, ran into a little bit of trouble, but he worked out of it against a young pitcher. He still doesn't have a lot of innings on his arm. He's had some injuries. He's only thrown a little over 100 innings in the minor leagues. So there's still refinement, but I thought it's just good to see, hey, you have power arms in your system. You can
yeah,
work on that. And as he refines his control, refines his command, gets a little more experience, I don't think it's crazy to suggest that if he does what he should and stays healthy, could he be a guy that, once we get into June, July, August, the dog days of the summer, and you need an extra arm to come up and plug a hole for you? I think it's possible we could see him.
Most definitely. I mean, in this day and time, whether guys are injured or not, to help the rosters out, to help the pitching staffs out. You may bring a guy in to actually have a couple of starts to get a feel for where he's at, plug in for a Pavetta, plug in for a Dylan C sometimes, or you Darvish, as you said early on. And when these guys they get these opportunities, and they're gonna definitely going to get these opportunities. You want to try to make the best out of them, in providing your talent and your skill set to the team to be confident to where they may call back on you. And then a lot has to do with how this season goes on. Um, in the Padres case, we know there's some little bit fires that are going on behind the scenes, and they need to get off to a good start. And if they don't, do they start early, moving guys around and trying to get the talent that they need for the team, considering that there's um, a lot going on from a financial aspect and the steadiness of the team and where they are right now.
Yeah, yeah. And again, we'll see. There's so many different ways you can see things going with the Padres this year, and that's why I think getting off to a strong start is going to be really, really important. And again, when we talk about these pitchers, we're talking about really who's going to be guy 8 through 10 that can come up, make a spot start, maybe make 4 or 5 starts. They don't need any of these guys to be studs, but I think it's important to assess the starting pitching depth they have because look, they're going to need it. It's not as strong as the Dodgers. It's not as strong as some other teams in baseball. But
Mm.
if you just have some arms who you can call upon to help out and plug some holes, it's really, really important. And they have some of those guys. We've
Yeah,
seen Jackson Wolf come up and make a start. We've seen Reese Kinnear come up and make starts. Omar Cruz is another guy. So they have bodies. One guy who's
yeah.
really intriguing. Yeah, one guy who's really intriguing to me and has really stood out to me this camp is Ryan Bergert. He threw today against the Cubs in that ugly 16-1 loss. But it was interesting watching. So Matt Waldron got the start, and Waldron has been one of the Padres' better pitchers in camp. I do think he has taken the lead for the number 5 spot. The knuckleball was
Hmm.
dancing well today. He was able to sneak a few fastballs in there. He was just let down by some bad defense. Luis Camposano had a real hard time handling his knuckler behind the plate. Eggy Rosario threw a ball into center field, and then throughout the day, the Padres defense really, really struggled. So the final line looked uglier than it was. Ryan Bergert came in though, and he started against you guys, pitched well, had another outing, pitched well again. And today, again, the final line doesn't look great. 2 innings, 5 hits, 3 Ks, but a lot of that, some innings were extended because of some more defensive misplays. Eggy Rosario failed to field a grounder at third. Forrest Wall lost a ball in the sun, turned into a double. So some extended innings, some errors behind him didn't help him. But you're seeing 3 pitches for strikes, 94, 96, a good running fastball. Got Kyle Tucker swinging for a strikeout, got Pete Crow Armstrong swinging for a strikeout, landed the slider, got swings and misses against the slider. Changeup looked good. And he was facing the Cubs starting 9. I mean, he was facing
Yeah.
what the Cubs lineup will be. When you see a young guy, coming up and he's getting swings and misses against big league hitters, I know it's spring training and hitters are still getting their timing down, but what does that show you when you see a young guy come up and make really good hitters, miss?
Well, for one, Kyle, it gives the pitchers the utmost confidence, and it
Yeah.
just gives the guys who he's facing an opportunity to get some data and download some information on the shapes and how the ball comes out and what it does. But it definitely, like you can never hurt yourself as a kid or a guy that's trying to impress your team and also navigate playing against big leaguers more consistently on a daily basis. And obviously, everyone's trying to get better at this particular time. And the pitchers are still a little bit ahead of the hitters right now. But eventually, in the next couple of weeks or so, some things are going to start to even out, and guys going to be starting to get on that everyday program.
Yeah.
And once they get on that everyday program, their scopes and gauge is going to be a lot better. But it's always good to see, like the cat and mouse game that, the younger guys going out and trying to prove their worth even, good or bad. Like you sometimes you're gonna have some good ones and sometimes you're gonna have some stinkers there in spring training.
Yeah.
But the good part is if are you able to um get in and out of the dugout efficiently while getting some outs and trying to use your stuff to give everybody an opportunity to see you perform in a situation and hopefully that you learn from those situations navigating this Cubs lineup per se today and see what happens on the next start. Maybe he may start against us next time. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think too what jumps out about Ryan Bergert, he was added to the 40 man this year. Just some background. So out of West Virginia, there was a point where he looked like he could have been a top 2 rounds pick going into his junior year, got hurt, had Tommy John surgery. Padres were able to get him in the 6th round, just kind of as a buy low. And right out the chute, the stuff was really impressive. Like all guys who have Tommy John surgery, it takes a little bit of time to get that command back. But his second year as a pro, the stuff and the command lined up, pitched really, really well. Last year had a little bit of struggles as he moved up to Double A. Stuff was great. Didn't give up a lot of hard contact. Just the command was a little inconsistent. And I think that's the biggest thing for me watching him this spring is he's going right after hitters. He's showing no fear. Just the aggressiveness. Against the Mariners in the opener, facing J.P. Crawford, Julio Rodriguez went right after him. Got a few weak choppers. And again
Yeah.
today, facing Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki and Pico Armstrong and Ian Happ and Michael Bush. He went right after guys. And I thought what was interesting was he didn't give up much hard contact at all against his fastball. His slider got hit a little bit. There were a few he hung and that was where the hard contact was, but he come right back with that slider again and get a called strike or get a swing and miss. It wasn't like he shied away from it just because he gave up, hard contact against it once or twice. There's a fearlessness there. And I think when you look for some of the little things that can help separate, a young guy with stuff, but maybe who never puts it together compared to a guy
Yeah.
like, hey, there's good things happening. You see some of the little things there. And I think that's what's been really encouraging to me watching Ryan Berger this spring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we saw him a little bit, like you said before. He faced us a couple times, and he's done a good job using his stuff. I mean, I hear guys talking about the sinker a little bit, but he also, he has a good breaking ball too. So he's able to command some of these things, and it makes it a lot easier to pitch when you have this type of stuff to go along with, the arsenal that you have. So to seeing this young man right now. Hopefully, he gets a chance to continue to get better, and we'll see him probably in coming up weeks or so. Just kind of see where he is and see if he's going to go 4 innings, and see if you guys can go 5 innings at this particular point, and and just see how they navigate certain things. Like I said. And it's always good to see young guys come in competing and try to show and earn their worth for their team and for their teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think to kind of wrap it up, when I look at this Padres rotation right now, I think it has a chance to be one of the strengths of the team. And I do think this will be a top 10 rotation in Major League Baseball. It won't be number 1, 2, or 3. You look what the Dodgers could throw out there. Look what the Mariners can throw out
Mm.
there. There's a
Yeah,
lot of other
yeah,
staffs that I'd say definitely are better, but I do think it's a top 10 rotation in baseball. But so much that is going to be health dependent. Again, you Darvish getting up there in years. Michael King and Dylan Cease stayed healthy last year. You certainly hope they do so again this year. Obviously, you want to see it. Nick Pivetta has been fairly consistent given, 150 innings. He's averaged over 150 innings the last 4 years. So there should be plenty of innings there. And so much of the Padres' success to me is going to come down to on the pitching side. Okay, how does the depth step up? And I feel like for me, if I were to kind of take a step back and assess it, we talked about this rotation depth being a concern most of the offseason. As I look at it now, with Waldron throwing well in spring training, with the addition of Kyle Hart, with Randy Vasquez, potentially taking some strides after a good second half last year, then seeing Berger, seeing Nett, knowing that there's guys like Wolf and Kinnear, I do feel like the Padres pitching depth, I would assess it as pretty solid. It's not exceptional, but I do think it's good enough where you can reasonably expect the overall production of this rotation to be in the top 10 in baseball at the end of the year, beyond just kind of your top 3 or 4 horses. How do you kind of see it right now?
I'm definitely leaning towards that in a sense. I'm more interested to see how they get out of the gate with the health of the big three per se.
Yeah,
With you, Darvish, and King, and Dylan Cease. But hopefully them getting out to a good start in that sense creates that that energy for the team to be in a very good spot, especially considering we're talking about top 10 pitching staffs. I mean, those are just the starters. They do have some guys in the middle of the bullpen in the back
oh yeah,
end that are very heavy. Suarez, I know for sure, like that dude is, yeah, he's the closing guy, closer type of guy. So
yeah.
that there's a combination of these things to make a pitching staff, one of the top in the leagues, and especially in the National League, with considering what they have on the front end and some of the guys on the back end. So it's gonna be a work in progress to see some of these younger guys getting them integrated into this. And But it looks like for the most part young young Padres starters are going to be good, man. They got a good chance to do some things this year, and will be interesting in the NL West in 2025.
Absolutely. All right, Mike, got a couple of things I want to touch on, kind of the to-do list as we wrap up the last half of spring training here. And of course, discuss your split squad managerial 2025 debut. We're going to take a quick break here from our sponsor.
Uh,
We'll be right back.
FT fam, if you love ripping packs of cards, there is a modern way to do that now on Arena Club with their slab packs and crats. I know you love ripping slab packs and getting that sweet card that you've always been looking for.
Yeah, and you don't have to go through all the other ones, all the Kratz cards that are in there. Bang, you just get the big one, the one that you're just peeking right around the corner when you open that pack, the one you expect to get.
Also, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. You'll get an instant offer of 90% of the estimated value, so you can accept it on the spot, simple, fast, and risk-free. Use that cash to buy more slab packs, and you can get your cards officially graded by Arena Club. So go check it out right now, FT fam. You can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and then use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL. Code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. Get after it, FT fam.
All right, welcome back to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside Mike Cameron. All right, Mike, we've reached not quite the halfway point of spring training, but we're getting close. What would you say is the to-do list for the Padres and really every team at this point in camp? What are sort of the things that everyone looks to accomplish here the back half of spring training?
Just see if you can get like your nine to be on the field continuously together. Hopefully that's guys don't need to start to have those days off or bad backs or whatever, shoulder, whatever they're going through. Hopefully you're able to get your guys out on the field together so you can have the bullets going in facing some of these starters. And then on top of that, man, it's just continuing to improve uh your swing, your rhythm, your timing, competing a little bit better. The concentration level will start to pick up here with it getting close to time. The guys got to start put some things on the um put some things in the books to make this season go the way they want to go to it. So, looking forward to that, man. Start winning a few games here. Just started to build that confidence and that aura of the team as to what we're supposed to be. Our identity, how we're going to play these games, and along with some of the young guys that are integrated with that. You try to bring them along with and let them know that this is how we're doing things, and trying to make it, a nice spring training and competitive, as always.
It's interesting. You mentioned winning games, and a lot of times, spring training, you talk about it's not about the results that matter. But I remember in 2018, Alex Cora, manager of the Red Sox, talked a lot about they took pride in the fact they had the best record in the Grapefruit League that year, and they felt like that sort of set them up to kind of, just that winning rhythm, that winning vibe. And he actually directly attributed some of their success to what they had built in spring training and winning games in spring training and carrying that forward into the season. How much weight do you put on that where, maybe the games where it is your starting nine and you're facing another team's starting nine and you're going out there and, maybe you're not 100% up to speed, but you're competing and you're winning. Again, I always thought it was interesting because some players and managers have talked about they do kind of get that feeling a little bit in spring. How much do you put on, winning games in spring training, particularly when it is your starting nine going out there?
I mean, I don't know, but particularly you're looking to get the W, but obviously that's the goal, to go out and win, and hopefully you have some of the talent to go out and help get closer to that goal. But at the same time, the starters still are leaving, kind of early, fourth, fifth inning. Sometimes some guys are getting two, three at bats. It just all depends on when their spot rolls around. Hopefully, guys are starting to get to that three at bat level now. You started, considering, like our team has come up short one game, for the last 2 years. You want to get out to the best start you possibly can to start the season, and spring training, it could go your way sometimes, and then everything else flip, and everything, you just blossom. Or you could be great at spring training and have a crazy start to the season. It's just a matter of getting your big guys in position and getting them ready to go out to perform on a daily basis in good health, man. And try to win some games. The young guys are always going to be making interesting competing because they're going to play to the wall every day, man. Like they're trying to show some things. So that always keeps spring training interesting, and sometimes it can get a little messy, when you're dealing with the wind and the light air out here and in the sun. So, but for the most part, guys are competing hard and trying to win. And if you come up short is one thing, but as you start to move closer to opening day, the intensity, you'll know that you can kind of feel the intensity starting to pick up a little bit better. Guys are a lot more sharp than what they were at the beginning, and they won't be missing as many pitches as they did when they first got here.
I was looking back. You actually put up some pretty loud spring training numbers. The available spring training stats from 2006 to 2011. You're hitting over 300, plenty of slug. Like you were mashing spring training. Did you feel like when you were
Yeah,
having a good spring
I had
training that
no
meant
idea. I
making
didn't
fun?
know.
Yeah, no, I was looking again. The only numbers available are '06 to 11. So the numbers from
I
like
never
magazine.
really paid attention.
Never pay attention.
Yeah, I have no idea. I
Yeah,
never paid attention to it. I just like health,
yeah.
health, and also running out and playing every day. When you get that opportunity to play every day, it's important. Like, for me, as a center fielder, that I needed to make sure my legs were good and strong in Arizona before you start getting into that cold weather, so that was important to me more than anything. But I like to have good spring training because, man, it definitely keeps the nerves down. That's for sure.
All right, here we go. Here's your spring training numbers: 2006 to 2011. 304 batting average,
Ah,
407 on base, 532 slug,
ah,
13 homers and
okay.
13 homers and 48 ribbies and in 111 games. So make that a 162 pace. I mean, that's probably 20 homers and 80 ribs while, 939
Eh,
OPS.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they had no idea. I don't even know where you begin to look for stuff like it. This at, but always felt like I had a pretty decent spring training. As long as I was healthy. I mean, '06 obviously was the biggest one for me in a long time. So, considering what I went through and didn't get a chance to work out at all, and having trying to have the best spring I could, just healing my body to get back to playing the game that I love to play.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like your best one, you talk about that, was that first spring training with the Padres in '06. That was, I mean, you did pretty well in Milwaukee too, your first one there as well. But
Yeah.
First one with the Padres, you talked about that, coming in, trying to get healthy, getting your mind right, and rediscovering love for the game. And yeah, the
Yeah,
performance bore that out.
yeah,
You were raking that spring. 367,
yeah.
92, 633, three
How many
bombs,
at
four
bats did I
doubles.
get? How many at bats did I get? I
That
mean,
first spring, let's see, you got 49 ABs, and yeah, you
okay.
were raking. You were
Yeah.
raking.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there, yeah, there you go. Mike Cameron, spring training, Hall of Famer, Cactus League Hall of Famer.
Hey, you know what? I do know this that Dale Swain used to tell me all the time, as you get older, you want to play, you need to play more.
Yeah,
Most guys get older, they don't want to play at all. But he told me I used to play all the time. I used to go on the road, I would do anything. I would whatever I needed to do to get my body ready to ramp up the way it's supposed to be ramped up going into a season. Especially, I think I was just turned 33 at that particular point. So,
yeah.
you know, it's out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mike. So before we wrap up, we have to talk about your split squad managerial showing. As you talked about, you were still looking for your first win as a manager. Last week, you were about to head out, manage the Mariners in a split squad game against the Texas
Yeah.
Rangers. The Rangers won 8-0. So we're still looking for that first dub. What happened? How'd it go down?
It wasn't good. Like uh, we had a couple of guys. We had a couple of guys that could do it. Um, and man, we just got shut out. To be honest with you, I never expected to get shut out of spring training. And as I said, I took over a nice little package over there for guys to try to win some extra, or build some extra motivation. And I only got to pass out $40 because wasn't that good over there. So they had their boys too. They had everybody going that starting lineup, So but anyway, that's did get Roach on that one. Hopefully I get a chance to do it. I'm going back to Arizona and manage that team. So it'll be kind of cool to do that and make it happen.
All right, when you get your first dub, I feel like we gotta do something to celebrate. You got to go out for a nice dinner, like do something.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely will, man, because I'm really struggling right now. 0 for 3. I can say that, man, because I know these are split squads. Can I at least get some horses, man, to go with me? They go do it. So, right now I'm having a lot of these young guys and they don't really understand. They're more excited about playing the game. And I'm excited about managing them too. But obviously, um, I want to get one victory before I leave this place, man. We got like 2 or 3 more split squad games coming up too. So hopefully this next one against Arizona is my time.
I feel like you gotta call Jerry and just say, "Hey, give me Julio, give me JP, give me some of the horses."
That's the thing, though. If they're playing at home, they're not leaving. They're gonna stay home. Those guys gonna stay home and play. That's the thing. That's what kills me right there.
All right, well, we'll be
Uh,
watching closely to see if you can get that first dub, and we'll go from there. Mike, thank you so much for
uh,
joining me. It was a great time as always, and we look forward to talking more baseball with you as the Cactus League unfolds.
all right, Cal. I definitely look forward to it, baby.
All right, everyone. That'll do it for another episode of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and leave us a review, a like, subscribe on YouTube if you're more of a podcast person, Apple, Spotify. We're everywhere. We'd love to hear from you, and we look forward to bringing you more to come. I'll be back with Heath Bell later this week, and then back with Mike next week as we take you through the Cactus League season leading up to opening day. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, everybody.